It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. And real quick, you can see what kind of day it was. I've been doing my makeup while I was doing phone Zoom sessions that were audio only. It's been that busy. It's been that kind of week. So you see, like, yeah, brushes. Yeah, my phone's here. Wow, good start. You could tell I'm kind of rushed. But yeah. 3 It's Not Therapy bubbles are going forward. They filled up enough to proceed. The next round of offerings on that is going to be structured very, very differently. Like I said, it was a beta thing. The back end of the Google form ended up being a hot mess, and I have no idea why. But yeah, and we are getting really good feedback on it, so I appreciate that. One of the things that were both in the comments and the response to the forum, this is one of these funny realities of modern life. I changed the autism bubble. It was originally called Adulting with Autism, but I changed it to Talking to Neurotypicals, because within the span of an hour I had 2 different conversations. The first one was, autistic people don't like person with autism. They like autistic person. That was conversation 1. Less than an hour later, I don't like being called an autistic person. It's person with autism. I'm a person. There is no winning. You upset someone. Which is why I say neurotypical, neurodivergent most of the time. But it's just one of those things in life that's where somebody goes, oh, fuck it, no, rage. I'm like I felt like I was going ping, pong, ping, pong, ping. But that is life. And you have a choice whether to take it with good humor or use it as an excuse to rage. And I choose to take it with good humor, because it's better that way. Now, I do have one more person that could really use ongoing Leanna Care sessions. So you know what's coming now. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeannaK. Or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. This guy came to me kind of out of the blue. And it's one of those ones where, yep, can't afford it. U.S. healthcare system. So anybody that can help out with those sessions, greatly appreciated. So let's get to feedback. I don't have a ton of time, but I want to get through it. One thing I laughed, I was like, huh? On the Rest versus Sleep Wellness Wednesdays, it said, Cthulhu knows a thing or two about sleep, and Cthulhu is hiding from the sun. You'll see here. But that is very funny. I needed a moment. What? Funny. Didn't think of that. Should have. The other person. Other comment on the hardcore video, that pause while trying to reach for an adjective to describe Elon is perfect. And yes, I censored a lot of things there. One of the things we are reworking is the idea of whether we need a men's panel at all, just because of the nature of my community, whether we need an LGBTQ plus support panel, a bubble. I keep saying panel because I used to be a convention programmer. Bubble instead of a men's bubble. Maybe we don't need them. I don't know. I surprisingly found that any bubble with the word support in it got a negative reaction. Live and learn. But that might have to do something with this hardcore mentality. And I was really surprised at some of the responses, both on Twitter. Twitter shouldn't surprise me, Elon Musk stands, but I got a bunch of comments about, Twitter was a bloated company where people were bragging online about only working 4 to 6 hours a week. And, people saying, do you want a brilliant coder that's lazy and needs to be managed and only works 4 to 6 hours a week? Or do you want somebody working 60 hours a week who really cares? And it's like, one, if you need a really brilliant coder, you need a really brilliant coder. And just because they're only actively working 4 to 6 hours a week, it was that thing I said about the brain needing rest. Now, I looked into this bragging about only working 4 to 6 hours a week. I could not find anything via Google. I asked on Twitch. Nobody knows what they're talking about here. And, you know, on a company where impersonation runs rampant, maybe don't take online bragging as something you can rely on to form your opinions, because I can't find any evidence of it. That's what I'll say. But this is what happens when a bully, when a CEO bully gets in there and starts doing this dumb crap, this anti-science, anti-motivation. And it's really funny how many people defended what he did, even though I pointed out science says it doesn't work. But there is this myth of a strong man who will come in and save everybody, and oh, he's rich, he must know what he's doing. His dad owned an emerald mine. He was born rich. It's so much easier to found companies. And I mean, Tesla was a mess this way. SpaceX was a mess this way. The guy is extremely lucky and has venture capitalists giving him money because he's lucky. It's much easier to do well even when you're a hot mess because of that. But then there were these two comments that came in, and I'm just going to read them both because I found the juxtaposition interesting. 1, Leanna brought up the military, but I think her take was slightly off. This sort of hardcore ratcheting up is the same thing that happens in the first week of basically in every volunteer military's basic training. Once you get out those who are not committed or willing to pull their weight, they then build the camaraderie. Set hard goals. Well, you won't get them, but all the ones you do will get will put you over the moon. If they start hiring again to spread out the load and are rewarding those who produce results, it will become better. Yes, you lose some talented people, but you don't need the best of the best to do the job. Okay. That's one comment. It's edited because I'm trying to keep them short because of time. But then, next comment. So I served in the United States Marine Corps, and I was a Marine Corps infantry. The reason I say this is because I want to expand on the idea of being part of hardcore groups, and the USMC prides itself on being hardcore. So when people say they want to be hardcore, what they mean is they want to affect and be competent to the point that they can be thrown under-equipped into hell and come out as heroes. See the Battle of the USMC. What a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of that uniform professional appearance is mostly a front, especially for the lower enlisted. We're usually thinking that this is bull, when in fact we're a bunch of stiff-necked Marines who, yes, follow orders, but cause enough heartache for the higher-ups. The real reason that the Marine Corps works is they're able to convince the Marines that this is all for a higher purpose, such as love of country. Trust me, you can pay someone money to take a hill, but there's not enough money in the world to put up with all the BS you find in the military or war. Also, like Leanna said, the military does a lot of praising for when you meet the standards such as promotions and awards. One of the reasons this hardcore attitude fails to translate into the civilian world is that 99% of the time you are not working for something greater than yourself. You are working for something larger than yourself, but with the understanding that you won't benefit from its success. So the idea of being hardcore without the pay or benefits matching will turn people away. If anyone was wondering, I only made it to Lance Corporal. That's rank E3 out of 8 enlisted ranks. Have a nice day. Thank you for the have a nice day. But there's the thing. Person who uses the military, person who is actually in the military. And I work with a lot of ex-military when I was doing SITREP Saturday stuff. Like, that was the purpose of it for PTS. And so, yeah, no, the military has increasingly added things to make sure there are carrots as well as sticks. And guys like Elon Musk, who's never been in the military, uses the myth of the military to convince people that what he's doing works when it doesn't. And sometimes you have to get tough. I'm a very tough person, you know. Some of you know the stuff I have been through. If you've been on Twitch and hear me talk about my life, people were like, whoa. And I realized, yeah, my life, pretty hardcore. And so when someone's been up through the hardcore and is saying hardcore doesn't work. Throwing the myth that a bully like Elon Musk wants you to hear because you want to be tough, that's the brainworms. And one person said male toughness gone extreme, to sacrifice and self-implode by working or whatever is a claim that it's for some good purpose. See how it's all tying in? And this comment said the same thing. They understand where Elon Musk is coming from. But what this is, what I don't get is normal grinding salary job, which is not war, where altruism can have a critical role in saving fellows, but it can just be depression covered in pride, and it can also be fear of being replaced and bullied, gaslit by management, this existential threat for a worker. Another person said, I mentioned what you said about the hardcore attitude and Elon's handling of Twitter to my dad, and he pointed out to me that if you look at a photo of Twitter staff before Musk took over, they're predominantly white people. But if you look at a photo of the Twitter staff now, they're predominantly Asians. And of course, they're because Elon's people has been left, because the people Elon's been left with are more likely to be the ones on visas. So they have no other option, like you said happens in hardcore environments. It's not the best people. It's the people who have no other choices. And it's so funny how the people are like, we want the best people. It should be the best people. It should be based on merit. Are now, the minute Elon Musk does something and it's his call to the strong man, it's like, we don't need the best people anymore. We need the people most willing to work hard. You can't have it both ways. This is an interesting comment. I'm going to drop the dread JP, but this is a commenter, not me. This makes me think of Jordan Peterson when he addresses women who want to be career driven. He'll describe these hardcore scenarios and ask if they really want to live like that and sacrifice motherhood and etc. for it. And I'm thinking, but why only say this to women? Why would anyone want to live this way? Maybe the problem isn't priorities of individuals, but these crazy environments. Just saying. And another person said, the hardcore environments, you as the employee don't have time to look for meaningful alternatives. It's meant as a trap. 2, it keeps you too busy to see that the people lording over you couldn't lead an elephant out of a wet paper bag. Those Twitter employees were right to leave space Karens high and dry. There was an interesting follow-up to that. Guy said, one thing I look at when people are racking up these same overtime is to analyze the position. Why is this job 60 hours? Are the processes and procedures inefficient? Does the person have the training to do the job properly? Do they have the right tools? Do we need to unload duties to another employee? My goal is to get the average down between 40 and 45 hours. I want people to have a life outside of work, but what do I know? I'm just an evil SWM. I think it's straight white male conservative. I call them WSCMs. Who spent his life working in the hated capitalist private sector. And the original commenter said, I have a couple of questions. What does your being a straight white male have anything to do with what I said? 2, I'm basing my conclusions on the experience in the military and civilian section. I'm going to roll over and die of surprise that you have different experiences. 3, again, why should I care why you're a straight white male? I only care that you do right by your people. And I think that was the straight white male conservative going, we're not all bad. And I will, I like the back and forth. I appreciate the person making the original comment. I understand the sensitivity. One of the best bosses I ever worked for was a straight white male conservative. And he actually didn't want to burn out his people because he believed in the old school conservatism, which was actually like good business and capitalism and competing in a free and open marketplace, and not this identitarian nationalism that has taken over conservatism. So I understand the sensitivity because these business conservatives have now been dismissed as the elites and nobody likes them on the political extreme. So just throwing my hat in the ring there. I have a lot more comments here, but I'm out of time. I want to save some time. I want to get to some of the two women talking stuff, because it's a lot of people are like, I didn't know white undershirts were considered underwear in the 50s. Yeah, that was what you wore under your shirt, the white shirt, so that you didn't have to wash the outer garment as much. One person said, one of my favorite bad boys in video games is probably unexpected, but it's Sonic the Hedgehog. His whole thing is freedom to go his own way, forge his own path, and inspire his friends to do the same. He'll do what he believes is right, even when it puts him at odds with, say, the government. And that was actually, Sonic was supposed to be the character for older, edgier teenagers when Sega was competing with Nintendo. So you are not wrong, commenter. Well done. And this was an interesting one, too, because we didn't have time to get it. I am very careful about certain references I assume people are not going to get, so I don't deep dive into them. But the thing about the James Dean bad boy characters, neither of them are what pop culture remembers, and neither has a normal shy girl try to change him or win him over. The most famous one, Jim Stark from Rebel Without a Cause, is trying to stay out of trouble, and he's merely one troubled teen in a cast of more other troubled ones. It's arguably a gender swap since Judy is the bad girl in the gang who's specifically acting out because of her father, and she's dating a gang leader and switches to Jim as soon as Buzz is dead. Jim is a fundamentally good person who gets sucked into gang activity all because of silent generation, angst, and existentialism. He's the foil for Judy and Plato, who are more disturbed than he is. They both fulfill a need for each other. Judy is the friend and companion he can relate to about his problems, while Jim provides the stability for her. They point out that Bender from The Breakfast Club was where the abusive bad boy's attractive love interest comes in. And that's true, and that's why I say it's not really a gender swap, just because the trope hadn't firmed up yet. But these are nitpicky details that are not worth distracting from the original point. That, yeah, as we said in To Him and Talking, the bad boy was all about criticizing society, not what it's become. So thank you for that. And this was interesting. A bunch of people got huffy about a comment off the top about the checklist. And I admit I didn't quite understand the complaint. And it could be I'm just not connecting. But this happens a lot with the Two Women Talking stuff, that we get these comments and Song and I are like, what was this even in response to? That wasn't what we actually said. That wasn't the context of what we said. This just seems like something that hit a button where someone's inner angry sad came out. And then you get people going, I was very clear. Well, saying that doesn't help, my friend, because we didn't understand you the first time. So you may have been clear for you, but you're not saying things in a way that we understand it, and getting huffy that I was very clear doesn't solve the problem. So we need more context with this stuff and not just angry typing, the world's done me wrong because I'm a man. I'll move on because this one's interesting, this comment. I suggest you talk about J.K. Rowling's but okay, it has nothing to do with her transphobia. This is something else. She's not transphobic. Yes, she is. On this channel, we agree J.K. Rowling's comments are transphobic. Trans women are women. She denies this. I suggest you talk about J.K. Rowling's vision of the bad boys. James Potter and Sirius Black can still be heroes and models girls should like, even after depantsing Severus Snape, well, the last poor and traumatized is a bad boy to stay away from in her head. And about how many fans want a white privileged boy like Draco being redeemed a la Zuko, in a manner. And yeah, that's something that, before all the brainworms came out, I was like, this is not okay in J.K. Rowling stuff. The apologizing, it's okay, boys will be boys, they were just kids, it was a harmless prank with James Potter and Sirius Black. They were horrific bullies. Horrendous. I still maintain that what they did to Severus Snape in those books was third-degree sexual assault. And if it had been a woman, it would have been treated very, very differently. And the big crime in that scene was not what they did to him. It was that Snape called Lily a slur when he had just been violated and he was embarrassed. And that is fucking bullshit and tells you a lot about the headspace of the author, that they thought that was something that people were going to go, oh, what? Hold on. What? But that's an example of how women reinforce unhealthy depictions of masculinity. James was supposed to be a hero because he died heroically. Sirius Black was supposed to be a hero because he was imprisoned in Azkaban and was nice to Harry on the handful of times he was being a man-child. You know, but they're not. Just because some people did some good things doesn't make them overall good people. And I mean, Rowling seems to have such an inherently negative opinion of men in general that I guess, well, they're the best of a bad lot. And yet her main character's a boy who is kind of a dickbag in his own right as he gets older. But I always had an issue, and it was very unpopular at the time. As unpopular, if not more unpopular than my attitude about Joss Whedon. Freaking other children's authors stopped talking to me because of my criticizing J.K. Rowling, because of course they all wanted to suck her ass because they wanted to be her someday. But you know, there are serious problems in what that book series says about bullying, and I do think we do need to drill down on this. And this is why I want to do bubbles of like small groups of talking about stuff related to masculinity, and maybe call it that instead of a men's support panel. But I want to talk about this because men are affected by this, and this is a push-pull effect in life, because guys see these codes, they see what the world expects of them. And it isn't fair, and it is contradictory. And yes, there's things for women too, but we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can deal with all of this stuff. So what's a better way of calling this? What's a better format to get people engaged in this stuff? Because based on the bile that comes out of the comments every week, people need to unpack this stuff. I don't think the people leaving nasty comments are bad people. I think the people leaving nasty comments are hurt people, and they probably have a right to be. So you know what's coming. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/Leanna K. Remember, there's that one guy that needs help. Buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who needs but can't afford it. Coffee.com/Leanna K. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend.